To break down a poem. My poem is The Lamb by William Blake. Important things to know when analyzing a poem is the poetic form, the theme, the rhyme scheme, and literary devices. Poetic form describes the rules of how the poem is organized, like how many stanzas it has. The rhyme scheme also fits under poetic form and the line length. An example of poetic form is a sonnet, which is a specific poem that has 14 lines with a very specific rhyme scheme. The theme is the overarching message that a poem has. Usually it is a universal thing that many people can relate to. The rhyme scheme just describes how lines or words at the end of the lines rhyme together. So you could have a rhyme scheme of A A B B, A B A B, A A B. This also can move into other letters as the poem gets longer. Literary devices are helpful with painting a picture of what the poem is talking about. It also can be helpful when describing repetitive, familiar words as you kind of get used to how the author talks and what kind of words the author uses. Some examples of this is symbolism, repetition, and imagery. We're going to read the poem, The Little Lamb by William Blake. Little lamb, who made thee? Dost thou know who made thee? Gave thee life and bid thee feed by the stream and over the mead. Gave thee clothing of delight, softest clothing woolly bright. Gave thee such a tender voice, making all the vales rejoice. Little lamb, who made thee? Dost thou know who made thee? Little lamb, I tell thee, little lamb, I tell thee. He's called by thy name, for he calls himself a lamb. He is meek and he is mild. He became a little child. I a child and thou a lamb. We are called by his name. Little lamb, God bless thee. Little lamb, God bless thee. Before analyzing and breaking down the poem, some important things to note are the poetic form. The type of poem is a lyrical poem, which basically just describes a spiritual part of a poem. The structure is 2 stanzas with 10 lines each, and the rhyme scheme is A A B B C C D D A A, and that follows in both of the stanzas. The mood of the poem is very innocent and childlike. Now we're going to break down the poem line by line. It's easier this way to then come up with the overarching theme of the whole poem if you break down each line. That way you know exactly what they're talking about. Little lamb, who made thee? The child poses the question of who is responsible for the creation of the lamb. Dost thou know who made thee? The child asks the lamb if he knows the answer himself. Gave thee life and bid thee feed. This states that the creator is nurturing by giving life and the lamb the ability to eat by the stream and over the mead. The surroundings of the lamb is peaceful and very innocent. Gave thee clothing of delight. Clothing of delight describes the wool coat the creator gave to the lamb. Softest clothing woolly bright. This just emphasizes the previous line of the beauty of the lamb. Gave thee such a tender voice. The creator also gave the lamb a sweet voice. Gave thee such a tender voice. The voice of the lamb brings happiness to the surroundings and to the child. Little lamb, who made thee? Dost thou know who made thee? Lines 9 and 10 repeat the first 2 lines of the number 1 stanza, and it just shows that the child is very innocent and eager to learn the questions. He would love them to just be answered. This is going to be the second stanza. Little lamb, I tell thee, little lamb, I tell thee. This shows that the child goes from posing the questions to answering them, and then the repetition is important that the child now knows the questions that he was asking in the first stanza. He is called by thy name. The child starts to create a connection between God and the lamb, because God is also referred to as the lamb in the Bible. For he calls himself a lamb, biblical reference to God being called Lamb of God. He is meek and he is mild. This is mirroring the characteristics of the lamb. God's meek and mild nature is highlighted in this. He became a little child. God, or the Creator, is referenced in a state of childlike celebration to the innocence that the three have in common: the lamb, the Creator, and the child. I a child and thou a lamb. This just talks about the connection that the child and the lamb have of being created by God and the innocence that they shared. We are called by his name. The child and the lamb become one under God. Little lamb, God bless thee. Little lamb, God bless thee. This is also repeating lines, and this is just a blessing from the child that he's saying to the lamb and the Creator. And the repetition just shows how important those two things are regarding the poem. After we read the poem is when we can analyze the overarching theme, which is talking about the innocence of the child's questions and asking about creation, and how there is such a gentle world surrounding the child, and how he's just very curious about all of the different things and wanting to ask those questions to be answered and give him more insight of life. Another thing that we can look for after analyzing a poem is the literary devices. This kind of helps with understanding more of the poem, as well as giving you a bigger picture of what the poem is talking about. So some things that are present in the lamb is symbolism. The lamb symbolizes the innocence and purity. It represents the actual creature in the poem and the spiritual meaning, which is talking about God or the Creator in stanza 2. The repetition, when the child repeats questions because he's eager to learn about them and learn about God's creation, as well as repetition in the second stanza when he knows the answers that he's asking. The imagery in this poem helps readers visualize what's surrounding the child and the lamb. It helps create a world that is very innocent and childlike, as well as like bright and safe space that they are in. And then apostrophe is the child directly addresses the lamb in most of the poem, which creates a sense of intimacy and closeness between the two, helping the child and the lamb kind of become one at the end of this poem. Again, I used this medium to kind of just make a presentation that a teacher would use while teaching their students how to analyze and learn about the easier ways of breaking down poetry.